Welcome to my teaching learning session. We continue with BPCE with me, Industrial and Organizational Psychology, Unit 8, and we come down to Training and Development with me, Sonal Singh. I am taking courses for IGNOU for BA classes for all of you. Now, starting with the Unit 8 for Organizational Psychology, where we talked about how motivation is important for both employees and our training heads, how learning is important and what could be the different kinds of learning that we can provide our employees to improve their performance. Now we come to the major chunk and I feel the core body of organizational psychology, which is called the training and development. See, training is an activity that encompasses where an individual learns something new. It could be a skill development. It could be about the job application that you've applied for. There could be skill training for that. And on the other hand, once you train, development is an ongoing process. We all know that. It talks about being in practice for that and learning through both your expertise and developing those skills and expertise also over time. So training and development is one of the most important and core part of organizational psychology. So there are many factors that influences our training and influences development. When we speak of factors that influence training and development is Wident and some factors which were given in 2004 by Wident and Holyford, which is 2004, which is relatively not very old and not very new also. But in consideration to the time now, 2004 is a very recent factors that we have. So some of the factors which are within the organization is organization plans and organization policies. So while organizational strategic plans refers to specifically any change from the current level or any kind of business type of business organization strategic plan that you put out to. So what could be strategic plan? Any changes which is happening in your horizontal level. It could be change of roles, additions of roles that you have. Also, it could be changes in the type of business. So that also are factors that influences your training and development. So let's take an example. Your organization talks about advertising, only advertising of commodities that comes to you. Now they have started apart advertising also marketing. So there would be a new strategic plan for something which is now marketing that has come up. So marketing and the new strategy plans will start influencing the way you'll be trained and you'll be developed within the organization that you have. Now, moving to the other factor, which is organizational policies that you have. So, organizational policies that we speak about, these refers to incorporating the provision of events to identify needs, assessment for development centers, and policies for encouraging learning per se. So, career opportunities available within the function or within the organization must be taken into account, which is very true. So when we talk about policies are not just all talking about things which are incorporated within the organization, but these are also events and activities that comes to your organization after every. Let's take an example. Every 3 months there's this event. Every 4 months there's this event. So every organization have their own pattern. So these pattern also incorporates policy that starts impacting the way our employees, our people in the workplaces are going to be influenced. Also, future needs are also something that influences the way you will be trained and what kind of training that you'll be given. So these are needs that to develop staff towards other roles, or the needs to develop staff to meet the changes in the business. That is, for example, a new technology has come up. I should not be saying this, but most of the IT companies did know what is work from home. But for the rest 80% of employees, we were not sure about how meetings would be conducted. And even if we talk about organizational setups, which are apart ITs, which were more on field, which were more working outside and in the outside environment, I feel their needs did change. And once their need changes, their their ways of being trained, their expertise given to them, and their development change. So when we talk about taking meetings online, having targets online, making sure that whatever on-field jobs were there, they were not conducted on-field. So off-field and on-field was a greater change and difference that we spoke of. Then needs also could be some desires which could be met from external requirement. This is in regard to the commitment and achievement of the employee. So when we talk about future needs, there are multiple needs that comes into play. One is skill shortage, which refers to skills of the staff in which we do not have the current requirement. So let's take an example. We want to hire people. We did not get the correct kind of people. So, but we are running out of the skills that are required in the organization. So let's take an example. We need an IT person who takes care of all of the in technical demands in the company. We are running out of we're running out of those skills. We just have two employees. We need another two. So if we do not find them also through recruiting and job processes, what do? We skill the other two people who are in the same horizontal level. So we pick up another two employees which are there in the organization and we skill them. So see, how did these skills shortage actually impacted your training and development? The other two, which were new people. Then there are needs and desires, which is desire to achieve something, desire to accomplish something, your own commitment. These personal future needs also impacts the way you are developing in an organization. And one of the most important that we did was the first one, the needs that we want our staff to be developing. It could be in terms of succession, could be in terms of bringing about a change in the organization. We want to give a revamp to your organization. So probably, obviously, now the skills and the training is going to be a little different from what is required. So I'm sure the pandemic was one of those, the first skill that we are talking about. Pandemic did talk about giving everybody new skills to work, how to manage everything. There've been a generation which has not been working with tech and computers and laptops, and now they, I think, even they are equally equipped. They are acquainted of how to use basic skills of the computers. So these were future needs that does impact the way that you are trained as an employee or you are developed as an employee in an organization. Let's move ahead and let's understand apart what influences training and development while we train our employees, while we train our people. There, we need to know what is the purpose. Why do we need to train? Do we really need training of employees? Don't they come with the required set of skills that we have recruited them for? So let's take an example. When we talk about being counselors and being, I mean, it's just a general example, being counselors per se, and you want to be a organizational psychologist in the future, you already have the required skills. You've been educated, you've done your internship, you've done your master's or MSc in organization or MA in organizational psychology. So you feel that you already have the skills. So what's the purpose of being trained in the organization? There are a lot of organizations who keeps you contractual for 3 months, will train you, and a lot of your performance and learning development depends upon will you be being will you be probated later or will you be screened and further retained in the organization. So let's understand the purpose. So the purpose is people to stay employable throughout a lifetime, during which job and careers might change. So yes, the purpose of training and development, we on a vicious cycle. It's like a cycle, not a vicious cycle. It's like a cycle that talks about having your employee being trained, moving ahead in another skills, being able to do the task which that other skill is capable of, and then moving to another task. So it's something that makes our people employable. So giving them more skills, keeping them trained will, the reason that we change our workplace is the same. You've learned one skill, you've aced it, you've been doing well, you want something else. You go to another company, you get trained in another skill. So this is what makes them employable. Then people's willingness to continue learning and development, which is becoming an essential part of employability. Yes, training and development is also coming because people, even employees in today's times, want to learn something new, want to be better than the others and have more skills. They want to learn everything which is in on the plate in terms of what the organization can offer. So because learning is something that none of us can do away with. So employees to learn methods and techniques required to do specific tasks. That's something which is very basic. Why do we train people? Why do we, why development is such a ongoing process? Because there are some techniques which are required by the employers to do a specific task. So they need to be trained in that. Then people who are on a new job, people are having to use new equipments, processes, and procedures, which is very true. When you have to do an important set of tasks, something which is very new to you, something which requires you to be, something that requires your, what do you call this, your skills which you do not have, and you need to incorporate those skills. So to do a specific procedure and task, once you join a new job, you need to be trained. That's a mandatory feel, I feel. That's like a first step after you join the work. Then the need for organization to develop future successors, which is very true. Organization needs somebody who would be training the rest who comes. So that's what is taking care of a purpose. minimizing the cost of recruiting externally, and maximizing the benefits of keeping in-house knowledge and experience in the business, which is very true. Apart the horizontal promotion, we could look forward to vertical promotions too. A person who was a manager can now become a senior manager after being trained, after being provided the expertise for it, and developed his or her skills in the same. So this is something to retain your employees. You don't want to spend too much by recruiting the external. You already have a big workforce, so you don't want to recruit. You don't want to spend money in terms of recruiting also and energy. So this is like maximizing the benefits of the in-house employees that you have. So that's, yes, that is a very people who are actually looking forward or are working as HRs and recruiters and are studying organizational psychology. I feel this is something which is basic to understand, that at times we need to learn to retain our employees, and to do that, I'm not saying we burden employees with new skills and tasks, but what we can do is, that's how the hierarchy works. If you're giving a middle level individual something which is new, and you give them a skill so that he has a future needs, which is a future need of his, which is an achievement which is achieved by him or her, and retaining him using your own cost by not employing another one, paying him another huge amount, rather than just providing an increment to this individual at a good level and promoting. At the same time, we should make sure whatever was done by him is 20 to 30% divided to the lower employer. And equal, that's how the chain of appraisals even work. That's how we make sure that everyone in our workplace is happy. So that's actually making sure that you retain older employees, give them new responsibilities, make sure you give them the benefits of being a part of the organization. That's a very important purpose, which is lined up. Then increasing the resources and skills of existing staff, which is very true. Everyone wants an organization who has very knowledgeable and expert employees. So training and development will surely help with that. Increasing the capacity of people in the organization to be skilled in more than one area. So this is like one individual multitasking. So giving them an expertise, not only what they're able to do as what they're recruited for, but providing them and training them so that they have more than what they can serve. So the skills and skill development can provide them, many ways to do something in their work areas. And also at times, training and development not only takes care of what the organization wants, but also keeps you motivated, and it keeps you very attracted to something new. We all know newness does create curiosity, which is one of the biggest social need of human life. So that curiosity makes you work more, keeps you motivated, makes you look forward to another day. Today I'm going to be trained. Today I have this kind of training. So this is what again training and development takes care of. And the one of the last is fragmenting of the workforce, which is with the use of the outsourcing and contract staff continues as fewer people join the job market each year, which is very true. As the number of workplaces being fragmented, a lot of people are moving in some other set of things and some another set of things. We need to know for that, we need to continue to train people so that we can use with whatever we have. So there are times what each year is looking forward to, because of internet coming at a huge gush to this generation. A lot of people are just working on internet. They are utilizing that Mars force of the internet to reach to many and earn from there. So the amount of workforce which is joining has reduced with the passage of time. So when the workforce is reduced, we have to make sure we have to be contented with the fewer, develop and train the fewer with many skills. So that's how again comes down to retaining. And that retaining is because we do not have the similar amounts of workforce joining the work areas. Like let's take an example, an IT company sees, or let's take an example, there's a mechanical firm which is looking forward to 30 people who are joining every year as their workforce is increasing. But with the passing years, this 30 is reduced to 11, 20, 19, 17. Why? Because people are moving toward unconventional career phases where they are just working on the net, where there's just influencing people and earning their living out of it. So that's like a huge task force which has started doing careers which do not require training and development from the outer work areas. So the existing companies are going through a massive workforce loss. So what do we need for that? Train the fewer that you have and make sure that those become expertise and further become successes for the others. So this is like the major chunk, the major purpose of training and development. So when we understand training is the core of the organization, we need to know why it's the core. So that completes with the purposes, as we said. It supplies, it increases satisfaction, it teaches you, it retains employees, coaches you, addresses your weakness, you become a better individual, you improve your performance, like the image suggests, etc. Now, moving to the fact that we talk about training and development, let's move to the fact how do we train the staff, the recruits that come to us, how do we train them? So the quality of employees and their development through training and education are some of the major factors in the long term probability of any business. So the way you train them, the way you develop them, and the quality of employees on the other end also you're getting does make a difference. So what we are trying to say here, training is an important thing. It is the major chunk, training your staff, but also the quality of employees that you get and you further develop them will not only profit the organization, but it will profit everybody on stake in terms of that business. So not only the organization, but also the employees, also at a global market if the system or the company is. So that talks about training the staff. Now, what is the purpose of training the staff? So first is creating a pool of readily available and adequate replacements, which is very true. We train them so that we can replace the older ones with the newer ones, or when the older ones are going ahead, we can have the new ones. So, or at times, people are leaving the organization, they are probably moving to up the organization. So, all of that requires the training of the staff. Then, enhancing the ability of the organization to adopt and use advances in the technology because of sufficiently knowledgeable staff. So, say, training is also required at times because of the advances that are coming in the technology. Training is needed by each and every staff in this, in this parameter of technology. Technology is changing every day. We do have workshops that we create for our, employees. Like when let's talk about teachers. Teachers have so many training workshops, not only in terms of taking behavioral changes in children at this time, but also how to use creative ways of learning with you, how to make sure that we involve all your senses and teach you. So that's why it is required, so that we adopt and use all the advances that has come into the technology and that can impact the man force or the people coming ahead. Then, what is the importance of training of staff? Building more efficient and effective, motivated team, which is important. Until your team isn't motivated, isn't charged to do something, I'm sure the level of competition for any achievement is going to be very less. So, if they're highly motivated, if they know they want to achieve something, they have a lot of vigor to do that, they have the skill to do that. The most important thing that they've been trained well and they have the skill to do that. See the level of competition that they will provide, it's going to be amazing. Then the next is ensuring an adequate human resource for expansion and new programs. Researchers have shown the benefit that an organization receives from training and development of its workers. These are, for example, increase in productivity, which is obviously, training and development not only helps in making sure that your workforce gets bigger and quality people come in, but also it increases the productivity of people because you're getting a new set of motivated, skilled people. It has obviously a reduced employee turnover and increased efficiency in the financial gains and decreased needs of supervision. So once your people are trained, let's take an example, the last level of employees have been trained, the staff has been trained. Remember, there is going to be lesser supervision for the higher hierarchy and the higher hierarchy to keep a watch on you. So what will happen? The energy that is expelled on simply watching people, supervising people, will get reduced. So this is what training staff really provides us. Not only performance, not only productivity, but also the amount of energy that goes in at every level reduces down, which is a benefit. These people can use it creatively somewhere, can help the organization, etc. Another point, when we talk about employee training development also helps in increasing their self-worth, their efficacy, and also their well-being. They feel valued that, okay, I've been selected to be trained on this expertise. That means I am valued and a valued employee of the organization. So it does bring about a lot of shift in your mind. If you have something negative that you're holding about yourself, there's going to be a shift. Then, generally, they will receive a greater share of material gains and result in productivity, which is obviously incentives that comes into play, and that what's retained helps them, produce more, provide you more in the later time. These factors give them a sense of satisfaction through the sense of personal and company goal achievement, which is true. Training a staff will not only provide motivation for them to work more, provide them incentive, But there are also other personal and social needs that the organization and employees are completing. So, see, when we talk about so many good points, both for the employee and the organization, training of the staff is such an important long term thing that should always be continued. Which completes with this. That's how, on a picture, an organization would look when they train. Yes, and you know that high level of interaction between a trainee and the employee not only boosts your self esteem, but also provides you a lot of worth. It makes you feel that yes, I am important. I am a user and a most valued part of the organization. So that's like a benefit to all of us. Now, let's talk about the training process. Your training staff, obviously, it has to be in a systematic pattern. Systematization brings about a lot of scientificness in the organization system. Also, it also reduces the errors that can be made. So let's understand what are the training process that we have. Organizational objective. So the first thing that you need to pin down is what do you want to achieve from this training. Then the needs assessment, then the assessment of the gap or the skill. So you assess what need are you providing them and what is the gap, where are the employees right now, and how much training do we need to provide them. So the gap is also assessed. Then training objectives. First is organization objective. Like for example, the organization is now planning to move 50% online. So the objective is to make sure the technology is acquainted with some. Everybody also is well assisted with, it's something that we have major successors and they can also provide further training. So you do training at a very higher level. It's for the entire workplace, but in sections. So need assessment, which department requires lesser training, they're already equipped. Then, what is the gap between their skills? How much do we need to provide them? Then we find out the training objective, which will be broken down each section of employees. Then selection of trainings, that who needs it first, who is completely like do not have much much understanding of use of technology and working from home. So we need to start from them. Then selecting the training methods and mode, whatever ways you want to do it. If you want to do it offline in the beginning and you want to use a lot of teaching learning methods, or do you want to do it online, use PPTs, colored, use of all senses. Then administering of training, which is conducting the training, doing the training, and then evaluation. Evaluation will happen when you give them an activity to do within the group. So you'll see, has the training procedures been implemented really nicely or not? So that's like a proper training process charter, like from A to Z. Where do you need to start with? What do you need to, you keep in mind while you come down with the evaluation process. Now, there are times when there is no requirement of training. We sit down and we see that okay, there isn't any gap in the skills that we're looking forward to this section of employees. They're already equipped with technology. So, what are the reasons that there could be no training required? There are I told a very positive one, that there are times that our work employees are already equipped with technology and we do not require it. There are other factors also that can cause no training in an organization. First is the time factor. Time demands of manager does not allow them to train the employees. That is something. So if the organization is going through a lot of work, going through a lot of targets, a lot of end month or an end year target that they have, there could be a possibility that the manager does not have time and he or she cannot spare time. So that's one reason that we should have multiple successors. We should have many people who can provide training. So having lesser managers can also be a pitfall. Most managers have not practiced training in employees, and training process for them is unfamiliar. So we don't have that specific manager who can provide training, and the others do not have the skill. So see how time can be a huge factor for not providing training. Then a broad expertise. Manager tends to have a broad expertise rather than a specialized skills for training and development activities. So if you're just talking about technology, probably he cannot talk about technology. He talks about soft skills and he talks about just the work specific base. So we do not have somebody who can actually talk about soft skills or of technology. Then lack of trust and openness can also be a reason. Many managers prefer to keep the information to themselves, and by keeping information away from the subordinates, they might feel that if I let out all my skills, let out all my achievements and my ways, the people below me might make use of it and they reach my position. This is a very common thought in every organization. Most people don't help each other because of this, because they feel what I have can be something that can be taken by others. So this is one of the reasons that we do not have training. Then there is skepticism. Skepticism as to value of the training. Some managers believe that the future cannot be predicted or controlled. Hence, their efforts are centered on current activities like money making today. So, skepticism is doubtfulness that probably, future cannot be predicted and controlled. There's no point providing this. If you put in so many efforts today and the employer runs away, so there's no point. Let's focus on today. Our today's task is this. I've briefed up people and that's sufficient. So that can also lead to no training of people. When we are just focusing on now and here and we are not looking forward to anything else. That's the process that we start from. Once you've had your objectives, you start with need assessment, training, obviously defining the training objectives, designing the training program, which talks about methods. You start implementing the training program in a simple way, and then you evaluate and follow up. So this is like a simple 5-chain training process that you have, and you can like keep that in mind. And with that beautiful diagram that you have on your screen. So after everyone's had a look on the screen, let's move ahead with the training needs that can be assessed in 3 major human resource areas. So what are the training needs that we are looking forward to train, or needs that we need that needs to be assessed? First is the organization as a whole. So if you want to train somebody, what do we need to see as an objective? The organization, then the job characteristics, and then the needs of the individual. The organization has to begin with the current status of the company, that what do we need right now, what kind of skill and expertise is needed that we need to train. Then the job characteristic, like let's take an example, we've taken like 7 new employees, what are their jobs that they're doing and what kind of training will they require. And also as per their CVs and resume, you need to say that what are their skills already and what they can be trained further. So that's like an important thing to assess need. The need assessment that we do in the beginning will incorporate all of these 3 points. Very important 3 points. Then once the organization has decided that training is necessary, what do we need to do next? We know that training is a very expensive thing. It not only takes care of employees but also takes care of a whole lot of time to make people perform better. So training program needs to be designed. We need to design a proper effective training program which is effective. I think cost adjusting, and also at the same time it should be making sure that not only the cost but also it should be value for money, the amount of money that the organization is spending, and also it should be value for time. The manager is spending so much of time with the people. So next step after is a designing of the plan. So after we design the plan, then we move to, okay, this is designing of the plan, this is the organizational needs, these are the recruiters that we have, and these are their job expectancies and characteristics. After the training program has been designed, we now consider what are the employees comprising of and what do they further need. So selecting the right trainee is also an important part. Once you have selected people who already know everything, tell me what your training program be just like finished in the beginning itself of being started. So we need to select the correct trainee so that we know that these were the job expectancies. They have 50% of it and 50% needs to be trained. So when the 50% needs to be trained, you put in the 50% through that training program. So, I feel most of the effectiveness does depend on the kind of trainers and the kind of trainings that you have. This is a need assessment tool, that training need assessment tools, which I have not involved in my written content. We can go through these tools are some questionnaires as tools, observation, we provide some interviews, some little written exams also at times, and competitive analysis of the different work employees. So we compare the questionnaires, the examination that they have done, the observation, the interview that we've taken, and a little bit of assessment of their experiences. That all will provide us a comparative analysis and tell us that who needs the training best at this time, which will help us select the best trainee. Now, let's move to the training goals. The goals, see, training goals should completely relate to the organization, I feel. Not only the organization, but also what the organization wants to achieve. So, if we pick up a goal which is very clear to the employee, but the organization is not looking forward to that goal, the organization does not have the goal as a centered part of their system. So I feel a goal needs to be a milestone that helps the employee that helps to take the employee from where he is today to where he can be in the future. And these training goals should be set in a manner that evaluate the training program and motivate employees. So we are trying to say it has to be both. The training goals should be of such worth that they not only evaluate the organization system's need, the goals of the organization, but it also supports your training, supports the training by motivating them, by telling them that there is going to be an achievement from what you are today and what you will achieve later by after this training. So goals need to be like that. Also, allowing employees to participate in setting up goals is also, it increases the probability of achieving success. There are times that the employees have observed, have noticed more in an organization in a span of 10 to 15 days or a month or two, after which their training starts. So I feel having employees being a part of decision making and setting up of goals is a very good activity. Then let's start with some training methods. So when we design an organization, when we design a training organization plan, and that training plan does have some methods that comes into play. So these methods are on-job training and off-job training. So on-job training is delivered to employees, while they perform their regular. So on-job is while you're on the job and we provide you training. So it's like on-job, it's delivered when the employee is already on the regular job, and in this way they do not lose the time of what they're learning. After the plan is developed for what should be taught, the employee should be informed of the details. A timetable should be established with periodic intervals to inform the employees about their progress. On-job techniques could be some job instruction training. It could be including orientation, apprenticeship, also internship, also assistantship, and job rotation and coaching. So once the person is marketing, we tell them to understand what advertisement brings about. So what are we doing when we rotating job? We are making sure that our employee knows the entire horizontal level, right from marketing, advertising, cost station, providing the cost station to the external company, and getting us, good clients, etc. So that entire thing is an on-job process that can be done on-job, providing and taking out time. Time management is required. That's why it said a timetable needs to be scheduled for the employee. Now, let's come to, and also when we talk about on jobs, we need to make sure that there are on job things, on job techniques should be very specific that tells our client what are you doing, when are you doing. They need to be measurable. That means should not be out of bounds and out of counts. Attainable, that means it should be attainable in the stipulated time that you've been given, it should be relevant, and as I said, it should be timely. Who are the bosses of those organize of that department? Then personal rules and regulation. Some companies use several, some companies use verbal presentation, written presentation also. So it depends on however they want to communicate all of this. So orientation is a must, I feel. You go anywhere in orientation. I'll give you a simple example. We get our children admitted to schools. Don't we have an orientation of the day? What was the school all about? What is the motto of the school? From when it's been established, what is their core achievements? What do they look forward in children to develop in, etc. So, and what are the number of classes, the acre of school that it's built on, etc. So this is like the amenities, facilities, everything provided to the parent. Similarly, we need to do it with employees. If you want to retain employees, if you want to tell them that they're at a safer place and they're being paid well, they've been taken care of well, and they're valued, we need to do all of this for them. A perfect orientation, not a perfect, I feel, but a very, quality information and the correct information about the organization, its objective is extremely important. Now, these are some on jobs and off job methods. On jobs, as I said, it could be job rotation, understanding, mentoring, teaching, coaching, apprenticeship, and JIT, which is job instruction training. How to do this set of things. This is your new task. These are the ways that you will follow. So, this is called job instruction training. Off jobs are many: stimulation, case studies, discussions, role play, in basket exercise, or give them something when they're free and ideal. Seminars, group discussions. Seminars can be online, can be offline. Training, sensitivity training, and syndicates. All of these are something which are off training methods, something that can be given to an employee sitting at home, providing the first 2 days that they go out and do something rather than sit in the organization and train themselves. More creative, I feel, all jobs are. They give you the real feeling of what the organization is actually doing. Now, let's come to some methods. We understanding what are these methods that we discussed: laboratory training, job rotation, apprenticeship, and etc. What is an audiovisual methods that we can use of job training? See, and even on job training, I feel videotapes, television, very creative, and it just takes care of all your senses. Films are a very effective one. Also, an entire snap through of your organization through videos, I feel is a very beautiful way of telling, your employees that this is how real your organization stands and looks like in a very short time. So it saves energy, saves time. One of the advantage of these, creative videos and methods, audiovisual method is that no matter how many times you play it, they look good to you. So the major flaw with the audio visual is that it does not allow you to question anything till the time that the entire thing is happening. There is no interaction. See, a kind of orientation that provides you just the information will not allow you to change the course of presentation, change the course of videotaping and everything. And as being an audience, you do not get an opportunity to talk and question things. So that's like the biggest flaw that we have. But the good part about this is that it is creative, it's nice, it can be played as many number of times, gives like a real feeling of what we are in for and what is it all about. Then, what is job rotation? Something which is very common in nowadays. Job rotation involves moving the employee through a series of job he or she can feel good about tasks that he is associated in different job levels. So the same level, horizontal level, different kind of jobs. Apprenticeship is employees who can do many different tasks. So it's like multitasking from the employees. Their own work is something which is presentation. You give them multiple other things which is associated to presentation. So that's like an apprenticeship. Then there are some program learning, some computer aided instructions, and interactive videos that has come up like in the recent times, and they're very common. They allow the training to learn on their own pace. So they're already recorded videos. Like I still remember, I'll share an example as a teacher. I had an ambassador program that was going on in schools, and you ambassador program was by the Ministry of India, Ministry of Education, the MOE, and it was something which is a computer aided instruction. There were set of computer videos that I had, which was related to something, in relationship to the modules that I had, and I need to learn like finance, entrepreneurship for children. I need to learn about design thinking, which is new things coming to school because we are moving towards the NAP, new education policy. So, speaking of that, these are already recorded things. I had completed them in my own time and space. So, while a training program is going and you completing within like 15 minutes of it, I took my good time to complete those, 7, 8 modules, which has multi modules within it, rather than completing it like in a 5-day process. I completed a good amount of months, succeeded in it, got an ambassador program thing. So that is something which is called a computer aided instruction. This can be for already computer. Nowadays, IIT is also providing design thinking courses, and it's a computerized thing. You will get a set of recordings that you need to go through, and yes, there are interactive videos, but interactive videos are by the end of the program. So the only difference from the above one is that you do get an opportunity and the material is yours. You can keep going through the material again and again if you have difficulties in understanding. So that's like a computer aided thing. Then laboratory training is conducted by, for groups by skilled trainers, and it is conducted at a neutral site and used for a upper and a middle management training to develop a spirit of teamwork and increased ability, which is like, laboratory training of giving you what something to do with other employees. So it develops compassion, cooperativeness, teamwork amongst you, and reduces too much of competition among the management. So this is done by the management to make you feel together. So there are some other employee training methods that I've mentioned, like instruction-led e-learning. E-learnings are very similar to computer-aided programs. Shadowing, with someone always looking forward to you. What are you doing? What are you not? Stimulation, role plays, role play activities, job rotation. We have spoken about coaching and mentoring. Again, having someone who's always training you. Social learning is telling them what is right at what point of time. Video learning, lectures. Blended learning is, taking two kinds of tasks together and getting them online. The individual is doing their task activities also and providing them a new one which can be blended and give you a new out product. And case studies and group studies too, group discussions too, having different trainees sit together and talk about the case study that they did. So it's like a hands-on thing. So these training methods are very, I feel that they look very good. And if applied well, I'm sure they're going to give you a very good training designed method. Now, let's move to an effective training program which follow these steps and which we've done even before. You need to know what is the organizational objectives, determine the needs of the training program, why are you creating this program, define the training goals that by the end of it, I need to have this by my employees. Methods should be concretely discussed before. You need to decide whom you need to train, decide who should do the training, administer the training, evaluate the training program. So this is like something deciding that who you should be training, administer the training, like conduct it nicely, and evaluate the training program. So this is something that we talk about as an effective. What an effective program will look like to us. Now, moving ahead, we have evaluation of training. Like I feel this is like a core of it. Once you've done the training and you've completed with the training program, evaluation comes at the end. And being at the last most thing, this is also a time that if your program has been, found that it's not been good, did not get the result, we start again. So evaluation is that important. So evaluation is training should be evaluated several times through the process. At times, it should be if there are managers, there are people who can evaluate these programs in between, like in between the training process. It's going to be great because at different stages, evaluation is done and must be decided in advance. Like evaluation done must be decided in advance that these are the stages that we are going to evaluate. We find a pitfall, we'll start again. We'll devise goals again. So employees should be evaluated by comparing their new skills, what they started, to what they've learned after one course, what they've learned after the second course. So if you evaluate in between, you first get to know is your employee really willing, your trainee really willing to be a part of it. So that's like happening after every program that you're doing. So the skills are defined by the goals of the training program. Any discrepancy that is noticed should be adjusted, made to the training program to enable to meet the specific goals. So if you feel there is something which is not being achieved, you want to redo this level with some other activity. So you did a lecture method, you want to start with a case study. So after finishing the lecture method, you evaluated, you found no, the course of learning has not happened. You might use a computer aided program, which is a video which has been running, or you can put up a case study, which gives a hands-on learning to the training. And we look forward to the results again. See, the major purpose of training the employees reaching the goals, specified goals that the organization has set, not only for the training, but also for himself or herself, which is the organization. So that is evaluation of training that we talk about. After evaluation of training, we've evaluated people, we have formed a design, people after training go back to their respective work is a performance appraisal. I feel this is something everyone is looking forward to, not only the employees, but also the employee. They also look forward to it. Who do we need to appraise? Who is the best performer, etc. So, good performance appraisal system must follow this following objective. To identify, you need to first to appraise somebody needs to know the SWOT of them, their strength, weaknesses, and with the view of overcoming such weaknesses, improve his or her strength, and thereby improve their performance in their department. Generating a good feedback system, guidance from the reporting officers, then contribute to the growth and development of the employee through his or her realistic goals. And what could be another good appraisal system? Providing them inputs that, including their salaries, their responsibilities, their additional appreciation, promotion, etc. Then, to help in creating a desirable culture and tradition in the organization. This is a must. I feel not only for appraisals of giving a good performance appraisal, but also otherwise the organization should have a very desirable and a very healthy organization system. Then to help identify employee for the purpose of the for the identify what is the purpose of motivating them, training them, what do they lack or have behaviorally, professionally, and technically important to both the organization and to themselves. Generate a significant, relevant, free and valid information about employees. If you have these general, specific, significant, and bias free information, I'm sure an appraisal system is going to be really good. And it's going to give you the correct strengths and weaknesses about the employee and tell you that this is where you need to appraise your people that you have. So this is how it works. You need to know the advantages. You need to obviously provide them a little bit of competition, keep them motivated. Scrutiny of employees needs to be done. Obviously, performance appraisal does require that, and We also need statistical information of what they did before, where are they standing today. This is their SWOT only, and development of employee. What kind of appraisal that you provide according to how they've been trained, what are their been inputs, what are their goals. Knowing your employee goals is very important to understand what are you going to appraise them with. So that's performance appraisal that we have. Now, some criteria of performance appraisal system. There was a performance appraisal system which was made up, which has components which has been striped out by Parekh and Rao in 2006. So this was called identification of key performance areas, which was called KPAs, identification of key performance areas. So performance has to be appraised against certain functions and objectives that have been agreed upon the employee and the reporting officer. So you need to know that this is the set of things that, like for example, in some areas it's like an yearly appraisal. All your performance will be appraised. So your reporting officer tells everything about you, what you did, how did you start. It's critical function association given role, which is employees' key performance, key areas. Then setting up of goals every year for the next year in order to make clear understanding and expectation under the KPA. So what are you going to perform? You need to make a charter of it. Your expectation, your goals, what are you looking forward? It's like in a school we give a lesson plan for the entire year and achievement that this is what we want to achieve with children, so that in the next coming year these changing will support them more, facilitate them more, and help them grade well and understand the subject well. Then a set of four qualities, which is extremely an important criteria for KPAs, which is identification of key performance areas, so that your appraisal system works well, which is creativity, initiative, contribution to the team spirit, contribution to the development of the subordinates. So if you want to, have a good KPA, so you need to have four things essentially. There should be creativity, initiative, there should be contribution to the teamwork, and contribution to the development of the subordinates. So this is what a KPA, which is important components of an appraisal system looks like, and some qualities that are actually required for good researchers are these. And when we talk about appraisal systems, even KPA, the criteria of performance appraisal system, does suggest a periodic review of objectives and behavioral dimensions, which is rating on performance, their behavioral rating. These are some striking ways to tell that which employee is doing better than the others. So if these periodic views are done by your organization system, that also suggests that your organization is equally working like you. So that's another criterion thought given by the CPAS, which is Criterion Performance Appraisal System. The periodic reviews in some forms where you review their behavioral outputs, rate their performance. You can have a peer rating if you want, a situational rating test for them, or a general behavior review that we can provide. So this is something which could be a sudden but a very good exchange of what they were expecting and what they've got. Right now, identification of facilitating factors for performance. So if you want to appraise, when what are the ways that we can appraise performance? This is equivalent to the criteria of given by Pratik and Rao, that how do we, what could be a form of a performance appraisal system? Identification of facilitating and inhibiting factors in performance. So we need to know what are the factors that get their performance well, and what are the factors. So a well appraisal system will have both the factors, somewhere it challenges you and somewhere it gives you good performance all the time. Opportunity to facilitate communication, this is a must. Your appraisal systems should be in a way that you get an opportunity to tell your view. This is what I wanted to do, this is my performance expectation, this is what I'm looking forward to, this is what should be my later time. So it an open communication between the two is extremely important. Then identification of development needs and development action plans, which is very important for a performance appraisal system. In order to identify the training needs of employees, their performance data is very essential. So that's what strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, their challenges, their behavioral rating needs to be very good. So continuously poor performance on certain dimension may be identified in the training and development. If you find someone who's really good in terms of their achievements in their education and their platforms of how they're represented themselves on the academic field, but they've not been doing well here, we can identify it, we can train them, and then further appraise them. So this is how a good appraisal system works, performance appraisal. So development of activities of, internal training programs, depleting higher responsibility, delegating higher responsibility, giving them a job rotation. Probably their task has been so monotonous for past 5 years. You give them a job rotation with two new responsibilities handed over and train them for that. You never know, they might do well, and the other employee that you've shifted up or probably job rotated only is going to do well. So this is how we can have a very good, performance appraisal system, which not talks about making your employee move, but making your employee get better and obviously retaining the organization also. I feel a very good, a goodwill of an organization is also a very strengthened highlight, a good highlight of an organization. If you go somewhere and you're applying and there are people saying, oh, they just keep removing, people, they keep removing employees, they don't retain it. That does sound bad about an organization, and that is reflected that they do not have a good organizational appraisal system. They do not even have a good training and development. So this is like a, a plus point. Now we are going to just start with a little bit of unit 9. Our training and development gets completed with what you train, what is training and development, its purpose, its goal, what the training of employees, why do we need to train employees, and why do we need to train staff, what are the different methods that we do, on and off techniques. Then we came to something that what are the different methods, then performance appraisal. So once they've been trained, we need to appraise them. How do you appraise them? Different ways, and how a good performance appraisal system look like. That finished with training and development, and we moved to 9, chapter 9. This is called organizational change. And starting it with a quote which is even given in your book, the only constant is life is a change, which was given by, it is given by a Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, and he actually stated the right thing. The only constant is change, I feel. So the process of change in an organization may occur usually in response to a wide variety of forces. These changes in an organization can be both external and internal. So obviously, some changes happen from outside, some changes are happening within the organization. Some changes are planned changes, some changes are unplanned changes. Like planned changes are within the system, like they've already been told, and unplanned changes, suddenly you go somewhere and there are remedial changes, reactive changes, like some plan did not work and you have plan B sudden. So these are called unplanned changes. Further, these changes can occur at three level in an organization: see individual, group, obviously, and an organization level. Individual level includes change only of the job assignment. One employee finding some difficulty picks up the job assignment, finds a transfer, probably they're shifting with their family somewhere and they get a transfer. Like their wife is shifting and you give a transfer to them. So that's an individual, and it's a planned change. Group change could be inefficiency, lack of communication within the group. The group is not being able to perform well. Organizational level change could be a headquarter of the organization shifted and relocated. There's restructuring, there's mergers happening. We are collaborating with bigger companies. There is acquisition. Your company has been taken up by things that recently been happening on a lot of social media that you see. I don't want to name any. I'm sure students are smart. There have been so many collaborations, so many acquisition of one company taken up by the other company. That's why shelving of employees have been happening lately, because new owners have come up for them. So obviously these are organizational level change, and obviously individual, because they've been removed, they've been transferred somewhere. That's an individual change. So this is what organizational changes are: external, internal, individual, group, and organization. Some are planned, some are unplanned. So these are some external forces that we see. We did not talk about it. External forces, and when we talk about external changes, what could be that change being brought about? See, some external forces are general social environment, social and cultural environment of the place that automatically makes changes by the way we cannot put up work till this time because that's how the environment works here. Then demographic, obviously, the number of people, what is their criteria of age, space, etc. Political environment does play an important role with the way an organization system works. Today we are a developing country, so do see how recession and everything and political commandments and demands here and there changes the way people look at company. The agreements which are signed at the political level by the ministers does change the way we are paying taxes, the way newer joints of food eating business coming to India and launching themselves. So that does create a lot of change in the workplaces also. Like a simple thing, when we talk about petrol makes so much of difference. The hiking and the lowering of petrol makes so many changes in the other organizational system. It's external, it's very political also, and economic. So economic is, I gave an example of petrol. Technological would be, I feel pandemic was an external change. Pandemic was a huge external change that we all saw, and it was a technological change. I'm sure it's a boon for everybody, not a bash. That's what I'm expecting. And then moving to internal forces that can bring about some change, which could be both planned and unplanned, is low performance and low satisfaction. We're probably not satisfied with the kind of performance appraisals that we've been getting in the organization. New leadership, which is unplanned. Suddenly, a new person comes in, and you're like, oh my God, I had some other owner of the company. Now the company is being owned by somebody else. So that's a new leadership. You might have to change your ways of working. You might have to change the way of presenting your work to the person now. So that does bring about changes both at a group, individual, and organizational level, which is new leadership. Then conflicts. Conflicts are both planned and unplanned. Conflicts at times can be at individual level, can be at group level. Group level, it could be planned because at times we know we're not going to work well with these people and we end up doing it. And there's a conflict, there's so much of frustration, there's anger, probably you do not reach the goal with this company, etc. Then, all of these little external and internal forces does impact our business environment. It does impact the way you work, it will impact your industry of work, it will impact the amount of competition you guys are having amongst yourself and consumer demand. And the way you put up your work, in terms of if there's a low satisfied, low performance work that goes out outside as consumer, people get to know it's not worth it. Like, cosmetic is one of those companies today which has multi cosmetics coming rushing in, and people are taking it in, and their influencers are providing their reviews over it. So if it's of low satisfaction and low performance, it just gets shelved off, name change, owned by somebody else because it's not being publicized well and taken up well. So that's how these external and internal forces can actually impact the business industry at a greater level. So that completes with a little introduction about what are organizational changes, how it can impact your working and development. So we finished with that. Now we talk about some resistance of change. A quick thing. At times there are organizational resistance also. That is a tendency in organization resist to any change, and they want to maintain the same thing in equilibrium. These changes do not allow you. They usually try that the negative outcomes do not come. So there could be many resources. There could be. We are just going to talk about a little, and we continue from this in the next class. There are many individual sources of, sometimes it's our habit not to make changes. There are security feelings, you don't want to change it, you don't want substitutes for it. Then there are going to be organizational sources that we will talk about in the next class. We continue with organizational structure change for all of you. Hope this was a complete understanding of organizational change and introduction. Thank you, everyone.